Well, Hannah, just maybe these finance ministers here in Paris have taken some of that momentum that helped drive the French rugby team over the line and into the final of the Rugby World Cup, because they've certainly grasped the urgency here that the Greek problem is no longer confined to Europe. It's a global problem and something that needs the attention of the G20 and the action of the G20. And under the outline agreements that have been circulated, they've drawn up a number of points they can agree on. Number one, perhaps, in all of that is maximising the lending capacity of Europe's rainy day fund, that European financial stability facility that we've been talking about for so long now. Yes, it's big enough to cope with the likes of Ireland and Portugal and, of course, Greece, but not quite big enough right now to cope with a country like Spain going under. And that was given further urgency with Spain's credit rating being downgraded as it came into this summit. It's not all plain sailing. One idea to expand the financial resources of the IMF has been quietly junked. It's certainly not on the table at this summit in any serious manner. That's partly because of the Americans suggesting that really a problem that started in Europe has to be sorted out by Europeans and not countries thousands of miles across the globe.
So banking certainly at the centre of all this, Owen, and that's ultimately the big fear, that if the banks do go under, it's going to be very hard for people to get mortgages and loans.
Well, that's right. Of course, if you remember, 2008 was all about the subprime mortgage disaster. For 2011, you can read Greek debt. The effect is more or less the same. The fact that interbank lending has dried up, and the big fear is that banks will stop lending to consumers. There are lots of groups on the sidelines of this summit that say the G20 simply hasn't done enough to address the effect on people in the street, those who struggle to get mortgages and loans. I spoke during this summit to Consumers International.
Be minimum standards before products are released onto the market. Regulators should have the power to suppress dangerous products. We need to use the dangerous product language in financial services, not just in physical goods. We're also very concerned that bank deposit guarantees should be made universal through all the G20 countries, not just here in the European Union, where we do have a degree of protection.
Well, that was Consumers International there talking about trying to get some sort of global regulation for financial products. They will certainly get that subject aired, not at this summit, and indeed not by the French, but when the Mexicans take the reins of this presidency of the G20. For now, though, the priority is solving Greece. We're going into one of the most important weeks in the Eurozone's history. These G20 finance ministers have to find some sort of meaningful resolution that those world leaders can take on when they meet in France in November.